Hello and welcome to this Friday edition of the World Report. I'm Arjun Samar Mahindran. Let's take a look at what's making headlines around the world. The Indian and Pakistani armies are holding a brigade-level flag meeting at Chakandabag in Poonch today. They will discuss recent incidents along the LOC over the past 20 days and focus on upholding the 2020 ceasefire agreement. India and the United Kingdom are set to relaunch negotiations on a free trade agreement. UK Minister for Trade Douglas Alexander will in fact visit India next week to hold talks with Union Minister for Commerce and Industry Piyush Goyal. Now, the discussions aim to revive stalled trade talks between the two nations, focusing on key sectors like technology, pharmaceuticals and financial services. Both sides are expected to address issues related to market access, tariffs and investment regulations. A successful deal, in fact, could significantly boost bilateral trade and strengthen economic ties between the two countries. Israeli police reported a series of explosions on buses in central Israel on Thursday in what they said appeared to be a militant attack. No injuries, however, have been reported. Police rushed forces to the scene in Bat Yam, a city, in fact, near Tel Aviv, as they searched for suspects. The cops also said bomb disposal units were searching for additional bombs. Analysts, meanwhile, argue that elements within the Israeli government are quote-unquote itching to return to war in an effort to eliminate Hamas, even though their goal is not really attainable. And one of the four bodies returned by Hamas to Israel on Thursday is allegedly not that of Shiri Bibas, Israel's military has said, calling it a blatant violation of utmost severity of a ceasefire deal that was already precarious. The Israeli military confirmed that the two bodies belonged to Bibas's children, Ariel and Kafir, in the early hours of Friday. However, it added during the identification process, it was determined that the additional body received is not that of Shiri Bibas and no match was found for any other hostage. This is an anonymous, unidentified body, the IDF said. Over in Washington, the US Senate has confirmed Kash Patel as the next FBI director, handing oversight of the nation's premier law enforcement agency to an official who has declined to explicitly say whether he would use his position to pursue Donald Trump's political opponents. Now, notably, at his confirmation hearing, Patel refused to commit, in fact, that he would not use his position to investigate officials he portrayed as Trump's adversaries in his book, and affirmed that he believed that the FBI, on the other hand, was answerable to the Justice Department and ultimately the White House. However, Patel will inherit an FBI gripped by turmoil, as the Justice Department over the past month itself has forced out a group of senior bureau officials and even made a highly unusual demand for the names of thousands of agents who participated in investigations related to the Jan 6, 2021 US Capitol riots. Meanwhile, when Trump tapped Kash Patel last year, Democrats largely believed it would lead to a backlash that would sink his nomination, but no resistance ever materialized. In part because Patel was less controversial than some other of Trump's nominees, such as Pete Hegseth and for Defense Secretary, in fact. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar has met South African President Cyril Ramaphosa and conveyed Prime Minister Narendra Modi's warm greetings. Now, Jaishankar, who is in Johannesburg on a two-day visit to participate in the G20 foreign ministers meeting, assured India's support for South Africa's G20 priorities. Not only this, on the sidelines of the foreign ministers meeting, Jaishankar also interacted with several world leaders, including Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi and Saudi Foreign Minister Faisal bin Farhan. Dr. Jaishankar also met Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov and discussed the progress of the India-Russia bilateral cooperation, in fact. The two ministers also discussed the Ukraine war and Lavrov's visit to Riyadh, where he held talks with the US delegation sent by President Donald Trump. And US Secretary of State Marco Rubio has said that a meeting between US President Donald Trump and Russian his Russian counterpart, in fact, Vladimir Putin, hinges on the progress towards ending the war in Ukraine. Now, Rubio emphasized that such high-level meetings only happen when there's clarity on potential outcomes. He added that if a Trump-Putin meet eventually seals a peace deal, it would highlight Trump's role, in fact, as a global peacemaker. US President Donald Trump spoke to a meeting of the Republican Governors Association in Washington. Trump spoke about education and said that the states will bear running their own schools. Listen in.
We're going to make universal school choice a very big, strong thing, school choice. And we're working very, very hard to send these schools and education back to the states where they can be properly run. In other words, this really affects the people in this room, but you're going to be running your schools, and who can do worse? Look, they rate them in the top 40. So we just came out with one that we were number 40, but we were number 1 in cost per pupil. And I mean, I know a lot of the governors in this room. You run a great state, and you'll do great with education at a much lower price. We're going to give you whatever you need, but at a much lower price. We have people in Washington, D.C. that, in all fairness, in many cases, don't give a damn about your pupils or your students or your states. And they're running everything, and they're running it into the ground. So it came out, we're last in education, but first in cost per pupil.
Meanwhile, tensions ran high at the Four Nations Face-Off Championship game between the US and Canada. This as political friction spilled on, in fact, to the ice. American fans lightly booed Canada's national anthem, O Canada, before roaring through the star-spangled banner at the Boston's sold-out TD Garden. The crowd's reaction follows US President Donald Trump's repeated jabs at Canada, including recent remarks joking about making it the 51st US state over and over again. Adding fuel to fire, the anthem singer altered a lyric in O Canada, in fact, during the performance, an apparent response to Trump's comments. The game, already a major hockey showdown, became a symbol of growing cross-border tensions as well. US President Donald Trump has once again stirred controversy by joking about turning Canada into the 51st US state. Speaking after Canadian fans booed the US national anthem at a hockey game in Montreal, Trump suggested Canada relies heavily on the US products and would in fact need to pay tariffs on key exports like automobiles, lumber, and even oil. In a light-hearted remark, Trump said he'd keep Canada's national anthem, though, O Canada, calling it beautiful. Listen in.
I think Canada, they're going to have to pay tariffs on automobiles, lumber, and oil and gas, et cetera, and they get 95% of their product from the United States. I think they have to become the 51st state. And you heard the people booing the national anthem, but I think ultimately they'll be praising the national anthem. We'll have to work out some deal with it, because I do like the O Canada, right? It's a beautiful thing. I think we're going to have to keep it for the 51st state. I call him Governor Trudeau. I said, Governor Trudeau's doing a wonderful job. I think it's actually cost him his election, if you want to know the truth. But we're gonna see about that. We're looking at Greenland, and we have to take back the Panama Canal, because that wasn't the deal. We gave the Panama Canal to Panama.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky met US President Trump's special envoy in Kiev on Thursday, one day after a public feud between the Ukrainian and American leaders, in fact, threatened to derail diplomatic efforts towards peace talks as the war almost is approaching 3 years. Now, the meeting with Keith Kellogg, the special envoy to Ukraine and Russia, was meant to discuss paths to, in fact, ending the war that would safeguard Kiev's interests. There was also hope that it might help diffuse tensions between Washington and Kiev after Trump labeled Zelensky a dictator, and the Ukrainian president accused Trump of echoing Russian propaganda. Whether any progress was made still remains unclear. A news conference, however, that was scheduled for after the meeting was cancelled at the request of the United States. Now, this is according to Zelensky's office, although Kellogg and the Ukrainian leader appeared together for photos. On the other side of the border, Russia's defense ministry stated in its Thursday report that its country's forces struck energy facilities supporting the Ukrainian military-industrial complex as well as ammunition depots, electronic warfare stations, and other targets inside Ukraine. Meanwhile, the General Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces reported on the same day, that's Thursday, that dozens of battles took place on the front lines throughout the day. Ukrainian forces successfully thwarted and disrupted Russian offensive plans, repelling multiple Russian attacks in areas such as Kharkiv, Lyman, and Russia's Kursk region as well. Argentine President Javier Milei met with US President Donald Trump's DOGE advisor Elon Musk in Washington on Thursday. And Milei, in fact, gave Musk a chainsaw that symbolizes the Argentine president's budget cuts to the federal government. Now, the chainsaw has the name Elon Musk engraved on it, and the phrase in Spanish goes rather something like, "Long live freedom, damn it." The meeting with Musk took place within the framework of a new visit that the Argentine president makes to the capital of the United States through Saturday, in fact. Milei will also meet with the managing director of the IMF, Kristalina Georgieva, the president of the World Bank, Ajay Banga, and participate in the Conservative Action Conference, where President Donald Trump, in fact, will also be a participant. And it's time we step into a short break. See you on the other side. Welcome back. You're watching The World Report on NDTV. I'm Arjun Samad Mahindran. Now, BMW says it does not need a special deal with the US to avoid potential tariffs on imported vehicles. The automaker cites its massive plant in South Carolina, the largest BMW plant worldwide, in fact, as a strategic advantage. The facility exports vehicles to key markets like China, Germany, and the UK, giving BMW the flexibility to adjust production for the US market, this in case tariffs are imposed. President Donald Trump has threatened to slap 25% tariffs on vehicle imports starting the 2nd of April. While competitors like Audi and Porsche without US production plants may face challenges, BMW remains confident. The company also unveiled new tech for its upcoming Neue Klasse EV series, further signaling its long-term plans to stay competitive in US markets. Meanwhile, Boeing has named Jeff Shockey as its new top lobbyist, this as it faces growing scrutiny in Washington. Now, Shockey returns after previously holding a senior role at the company and aerospace firm RTX, formerly known as Raytheon. His appointment comes at a critical time for Boeing, in fact, which is dealing with multiple challenges, including harsh criticism from President Donald Trump over delays in delivering the next-generation Air Force One jets. The company has already lost more than $2 billion on the Air Force One contract, and Trump has hinted he may seek alternatives now. Boeing is also navigating the risk of potential tariffs that could hurt production and exports, along with increased scrutiny, in fact, over safety standards after last year's Alaska Airlines 737 MAX 9 incident. Electric vehicle maker Rivian has forecast a drop in EV deliveries for 2025, catching investors by surprise. However, the company expects to post a modest gross profit this year thanks to cost-cutting measures in raw materials and even supply chains. Now, Rivian shares initially surged 7% after the announcement, but later pared some gains. The EV market is overall facing tough times, in fact, with buyers leaning towards cheaper gasoline-powered cars amid economic uncertainty. Adding to Rivian's challenges are proposed tariffs from President Donald Trump on imports from Mexico and Canada as well, key countries in Rivian's supply chain. CEO RJ Skerniec, meanwhile, has warned that such tariffs could lead to higher costs and impact consumer demand as well, highlighting the tough road ahead for the EV maker. Brazil's digital lender Nubank plans to expand into a new market this year after successes in Brazil, Mexico, and Colombia. The company reported a 22% jump in its customer base to 114 million, in fact, and an adjusted net profit of $610 million for the fourth quarter. Although Nubank has yet to reveal the next market, executives suggest 2025 will mark its transition into a multinational tech company. Despite strong results, a share fell 6% in after-hours trading. Japan's core consumer inflation jumped 3.2% in January, its fastest rise, in fact, in 19 months. This figure slightly beat market forecasts of 3.1% and has now fueled speculation that the Bank of Japan could in fact hike interest rates sooner than expected. The data also shows that an index excluding fresh foods and fuel closely tracked by the central bank rose 2.5% year-on-year, its quickest pace since March 2024. Bond yields, meanwhile, rose market prices in the possibility of more aggressive rate hikes. Economists believe that the persistent rise in goods inflation gives the central bank more room to tighten its monetary or fiscal policy. If the BOJ decides to raise interest rates, it would mark a significant shift after years of maintaining ultra-low rates. The US Justice Department has moved to drop its case against Elon Musk's SpaceX over alleged discriminatory hiring practices. The case filed during Joe Biden's presidency accused SpaceX of discouraging asylum seekers and refugees from applying for jobs between 2018 and 2022. But now the Justice Department says it will in fact dismiss the case with prejudice, meaning it cannot be reopened. Elon Musk, now serving as a top advisor to President Donald Trump, is also heading a commission focused on reducing federal government waste. Neither SpaceX nor the Justice Department have commented on the dismissal. The case had stirred debate over hiring practices at top US tech firms, but with this dismissal, it appears that the matter is finally closed. Brazil's top court has ordered Elon Musk's X platform to pay a fine of 8.1 million reais for not complying with court orders. The ruling stems from X's failure to remove a misinformation spreading profile and provide user data. The court had imposed a daily penalty, in fact, of 100,000 reais for non-compliance. X's legal team in Brazil declined to comment. Even last year, X faced a month-long suspension in the country over hate speech moderation issues and not appointing a legal representative in the country. And quantum computing stocks jumped after Microsoft unveiled its Majorana 1 chip, claiming it is less error-prone than its rivals. Now, the chip's launch challenges NVIDIA's claim that quantum technology is decades away. Stocks of Ionic, Rigetti Computing, and D-Wave Quantum rose, with D-Wave gaining 11.1%. Microsoft shares, on the other hand, Microsoft shares edged up 0.5%. The chip's release adds momentum to the belief that, in fact, practical quantum computing could arrive sooner than expected, sparking renewed investor interest after earlier losses in January this year. Meanwhile, Meta Platforms has reduced annual stock options for employees by around 10%, even as its shares trade at record highs. The equity refreshers form a major part, in fact, of staff pay, vesting quarterly over 4 years. Meta shares have surged since the US Supreme Court upheld a TikTok ban and CEO Mark Zuckerberg revealed plans to invest $65 billion in AI infrastructure. Despite recent market highs, shares fell 1.3% to $694.8 on Thursday. OpenAI's weekly active users surged past 400 million in February, up from 300 million in December. The Microsoft-backed AI leader also dubbed its playing business users to over 2 million. The rapid growth comes amid rising competition, especially from China's DeepSeek, which claims its AI model rivals Western counterparts. Despite DeepSeek's rise, OpenAI continues to see increasing developer traffic, with its latest O3 model gaining 5-fold user growth since its January launch. The PGA Tour says it had a constructive meeting at the White House with President Donald Trump and LIV Golf chairman Yasir Al-Rumayyan. The talks aimed to unify the PGA Tour and ally LIV Golf after years of divisions. Key attendees included golfing legend Tiger Woods and Adam Scott, along with PGA Tour Commissioner Jay Manohan. Al Rumayyan also heads Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund for Perspective, which owns Live Golf. In a joint statement, the PGA Tour emphasized a shared commitment now to reunify golf and bringing top players together more often. The meeting concluded with Trump hosting a Black History Month reception, but details of the golf talks remain limited. Meanwhile, the PGA Tour says it is committed, in fact, to moving fast and will provide updates soon. Major League Baseball and ESPN have mutually agreed to end their broadcast partnership after the 2025 season. The 7-year deal worth $550 million annually, including marquee events like the Sunday Night Baseball, the Home Run Derby, and wildcard games. According to a memo from MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred, ESPN wanted to pay less for MLB content, citing new deals with platforms like Apple and Roku that offer smaller game packages at lower costs. However, MLB declined to negotiate, believing ESPN wasn't doing enough to promote baseball. Now, this decision also leaves questions, in fact, about MLB's future broadcasting partners for key games starting next year. An American rapper Eminem is all set to perform in India for the first time, according to multiple reports. The rap legend will take the stage on Mumbai on the 3rd of June this year as part of his upcoming concert tour. He's going to be in Los Angeles on the 15th of March, in New York on the 22nd of March, or in Chicago on the 30th of March, and finally in Toronto on the 5th of April. Then he heads to London, Paris, and Amsterdam before reportedly coming to India. Ariana Grande, Timothy Chalamet, Selena Gomez, and Mikey Madison are among the big names set to be present at this year's Screen Actor Guild Awards. Organizers say Wicked co-star Cynthia Erivo and Bowen Yang will also take the stage, with the musical leading the nominations. K-pop group Blackpink has announced a 2025 world tour beginning in July this year. The quartet Jennie, Rose, Jisoo, and Lisa will perform across Asia, North America, and Europe. Now, the tour opens on July 5th, or the 5th of July rather, in Seoul, before heading to Los Angeles and other major North American cities, including New York and Toronto. European stops include Paris, Milan, and Barcelona, concluding August at London's iconic Wembley Stadium. Well, that's all we have for you this Friday. Take care and have a wonderful weekend.